Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Tuba Tawfiq and you're watching Kashmir Observer. We've hopped onto your screens today to discuss a crisis. A crisis in the career decisions that youngsters are taking in Kashmir. We've observed that a lot of these decisions are dictated by conventionally held beliefs that are no longer true. This discussion is especially relevant in the context of the 10th and the 12th standard examination. In our conversation with our guest today, we are going to dispel these myths and are going to analyze the globally changing trends in employability and career in general. I welcome Ms. Samer Afzal, who is the Global Project Manager at a cybersecurity company. She's soon moving to Amazon and has previously worked with Google Paris. Thank you, Summer, for agreeing to join us for this discussion. Let's just get right into it. For 10th class students or 12th class students here, it is almost embarrassing for some to admit that they don't have it all figured out. It's like,
Yeah,
that girl knows everything or that guy knows that what they want to do. And I really don't know. And they feel as though, the line has to be linear. There is no resurrection. After you take a bad decision, you're done. Is
right.
it supposed to be that way? Is it okay to not know everything?
It's absolutely fine and absolutely normal to not have a final goal. I think an 11th standard student or a 12th standard student किसी को एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं करना चाहिए कि उस इतने यंग स्टूडेंट को अपने आगे की दुनिया पता होगी या आगे के डिसीजंस पता होंगे. इसके लिए पेरेंट्स नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर और लॉयर आर नॉट द अल्टीमेट ट्रूथ्स ऑफ लाइफ, राइट? मैं हमेशा हर यंगस्टर को ये कहने की कोशिश करती हूँ that try to look beyond those professions. Even if I would say that I was also one of the victims of that society wherein I wanted to prove to the family and the whole khandan that I was an engineer as well, because my brother is an engineer, my father was an engineer. So somewhere वो जो societal pressure होता है, मुझे कोई हर्ज नहीं है ये चीज़ एक्सेप्ट करने में और ये बताने में कि मैं भी एक सोसाइटल प्रेशर में इंजीनियरिंग के लिए गई. अदरवाइज माई मॉम ऑलवेज वांटेड मी टू गो इनटू फाइन आर्ट्स and she said wherever you would want to go I would support you for that, but I wanted to be in that race. So I think first of all parents need to understand that there is a big world beyond being a doctor, an engineer or a lawyer. I mean that is the primary thing. Second of all, we need to stop expecting kids to be perfect in their deciding or planning their dreams. Very important. I think हम लोगों ने जो pressure में students को रखा हुआ है, they are expecting, they are pressurized in a way that अब अगर मेरे पास goal नहीं है या मैं MBBS नहीं कर पाया या नहीं कर पाई, my life is over. And trust me, that's not the case at all. सबसे अनफॉर्चुनेट बात ये है कि हम अपने यंगस्टर्स को इंजीनियरिंग और वो जो ये कॉन्सेप्ट कश्मीर में स्टार्ट हुआ है दैट यू प्रिपेयर फॉर MBBS and if you don't crack it, at least you will have the score for engineering. If not that, at least you will land in a BBA or a BSc. And that was when I started breaking the stereotype in my life. My father's colleagues started convincing me that at least enroll yourself for a BBA. I said, why would I am interested in cracking engineering entrance exams, so I'm going to prepare for that. Lots of people told me that आप MBBS के लिए भी prepare करो, दोनों subjects लो, and it's fine, and you would fall somewhere. I said, no, I have a goal. I want to do engineering. I want to work for these men. So there was a definition. But I think the most normal thing is to not have a goal at the age of 18 and just be open to explore the industries and the fields. There are a lot of people I've seen who prepare for MBBS. They want to be a doctor. उनके नाम के आगे सिर्फ डॉक्टर चाहिए. And मैंने बहुत लोगों को बोला है, why don't you go for research? There are so many options across globe right now, wherein if you apply and your application is really worth it, the university is going to even pay for your travel. That's a lot, that means a lot. And I think हमारी society में वो जो perception और जो vision है, वो बहुत ही limited है. बहुत कम ऐसे कश्मीरी
It's
बच्चे
also
हैं.
it's also because it's quite alienating, out of my own
Of
experience
course.
after my 10th standard. I wanted to do the arts. I wanted to study humanities, and I was quite lucky. And my parents were like, if you fool yourself that you're going to do sciences now and then turn to arts, that's not going to happen. You'll probably score good, and then
Exactly.
so I went for arts. But you had to figure it all out on your own. What is the next step, and to where next, and all of that. So it's quite alienating. I feel that is also one part where students find themselves confused. They don't have role models, because all everybody
That's a
who's
wonderful
deemed,
point.
who's
Yeah.
touted as some some achiever is usually somebody who has either cracked NEET or all of that. And
Right.
that's kind of funny, but
And
that
that's a
is our
wonderful point,
benchmark
Tuba.
which.
I think there is one more thing attached to it, one more string to it. So when you would see a student, going for arts, commerce, and not non-med and med, हमारी
Yeah.
सोसाइटी में उन बच्चों को बहुत जज किया जाता है. अरे इसकी तो हाईएस्ट परसेंटेज थी, तो why is she going for
Obviously.
commerce? And people don't know that if you look at the industry, let me talk about corporate, let me talk about
Mhm.
my kind of companies and industries. People who
Mhm.
come from the business background earn way more than the
Yeah.
technical people,
Yeah. Yeah.
way more, right?
More. Yeah.
So ये जो हमारा विजन है ना, ये सिर्फ वहां तक रह गया है कि हमें हमसाये को क्या बोलना है कि
Yeah.
मेरा
Huh.
बच्चा डॉक्टर बना या नहीं बना. The
Yeah.
problem lies there. We have not started, it's been so many decades now that people judge a student based on the kind of subject that person is choosing. And that's so unfortunate.
So, 10th class exams and everything, and results will be coming out soon after the exams are over and all. So, what should the 10th standard students take into consideration when choosing their streams? Because I know it shouldn't be this big of a challenge, but for them it's like everything, right? So we have to take them seriously as well, because their
I
concerns are.
think I think as a 10th standard student, my suggestion would be to take it very light. First of
Mhm.
all, the world would not stop if you change your stream afterwards. That's
Mhm.
the most important thing ever,
Mhm.
because I have seen people who were from humanities background,
Yeah.
started coding, and are doing their PhD in Netherlands right now,
Yeah.
and they're pretty good in their field. So
Mhm.
आपका area of interest क्या पता आगे जाके change हो.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend a 10th standard student or a 12th standard student that try to have a goal, but then try to have those smaller milestones in your life wherein you're trying to understand what is your area of interest. It might be mathematics right now. And trust me, in mathematics, you have zillions of options in future in your higher studies, wherein you can do so many different things, right? You can get into research, you can get into corporate, you can get into companies like Google. Even a mathematician, or they can also join Google in a certain AI section of business or something like that. So my point is that they need to stop thinking about being an engineer and a doctor.
Mhm.
They need to start looking into what they're interested in, what
Yeah.
gives them happiness in terms of reading the content. It might
Mhm.
be solving questions with mathematics, or maybe with physics, or reading about anatomy and biology and stuff like that. I think
Mhm.
it's very important for a student to figure that out at this point of time, and
Mhm.
then look for smaller milestones and keep on achieving them so that they reach somewhere.
Apart from this, there is also this dilemma of whether one should focus more on courses or colleges. And I know it's a big thing in India,
Hmm.
that based on your merit in 12 standard exams, you land some really fancy colleges, but you might not really be
Right.
interested in the course. So, should there be a balance between course and colleges? And should Kashmiri students look beyond universities in Kashmir and mainland India, and for graduation only, they can probably, for their undergraduate studies, they can probably apply abroad, because most of the students usually go abroad for their masters, and
Right.
not really
Tuba,
for
that's
their
a
undergrad.
wonderful question. When you ask that whether a student should focus on the school or the course, it would completely depend on whether the student wants to settle abroad or in that particular country, or wants to go back to the home country, or a hometown. Because someone doing an MBA in France, let's say I did it from Odense Business School, there are lots of companies, and I would say like 99% of the companies which already knew what my business school is about. But on the other side, if I would have applied in mainland India for a job, they wouldn't have known it. They would just say it's a European business school,
Yeah.
right? So ये बहुत important है to figure out हम actually वो course बाहर से करना क्यों चाहते हैं.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm not sure if it's. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's very important that a student figures out कि उसे पढ़ाई के बाद उस particular program के बाद वहाँ रहना है या नहीं रहना है. Unless and until I haven't done my MBA or my program from Harvard, rest of it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
तो मेरी suggestion हमेशा students से ये रहती है, don't go for big brands. Big brands charge a lot, and eventually you land up with in a company wherein people from different business schools are also there. My suggestion is always that if you're looking for an American university, try to look for the state universities. हर state की अपने schools होते हैं, and they are really good, really good. And I always recommend that don't just focus on Harvard and Yale and Oxford. That's not the ultimate goal of life. Try to focus on something wherein you're becoming a better professional and you are ready to contribute to the business or an organization.
So you talked about being a better professional, and we've also observed this trend now that this fixation on the qualifying course, or having a degree has become kind of stale now, because companies, recruiters usually look at your work experience primarily. It doesn't
Right,
even matter anymore if your primary qualification is, say, a master's in some XYZ
right.
discipline. They only look at your work experience and you're hired, right? So could you
Correct.
please, share some more thoughts on that?
Sure. So the reality of the world globally is that qualifications are no more important in many
Yeah.
sectors. There were a lot of colleagues of mine at Google who never did their schooling. By schooling, I mean undergrad or masters or
Yeah.
something. Um, the whole point is what have you earned or what have you become as a professional. Um, it's no more important that आपका education level कितना high है. That's true. But on the other side, we also need to understand that we come from a conflict zone. We need to be ready with all types of battles. We need to be ready with a backup plan as well. I would not encourage a youngster to not study. I would not say that, ठीक है, चल जाता है. But I would always recommend a student to be smart in earning a certificate or a program or a degree. Because, eventually we have to start from somewhere, right? I don't recommend that you have to be in the best school of the valley, you have to be in the best college of mainland India. No, it's not necessary. What's important is if you as a professional or a candidate have really earned, or you're smart enough to beat the rest of the competition, right? I'm going to this month I'm going to join Amazon as a senior program manager. But if you look at my career graph, I started from a school which is in Islamabad called Iqbal Memorial. Well, my first school was Sar Said Memorial, which is a very small school in Islamabad. I jumped to Iqbal Memorial, then I moved to Mallinson Girls, then I did my engineering from Jammu. So I would say that I was in the best institutes of the world. It's all about how you carve your journey out, right? And most importantly, when we are talking about these qualifications, we are only trying to prepare the students for the worst times. Otherwise, if you look at Google, Amazon, Facebook, and you look at their internship options, wherein they prefer hiring freshers who do not have much experience, because they are like clean slates for them. They want they want to train those youngsters and prepare coders out of them, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि कंपनीज यंगस्टर्स को ले नहीं रही है, वर्क एक्सपीरियंस के बिना नहीं ले रही है. बस फर्क इतना है that you have to be resilient and patient enough to start from a very junior level. So if I talk about Europe, when I did my MBA, I already had work experience of 4.5 years of IT consulting and to project management. Somewhere it played a part, but then somewhere I had to start from a junior role because I was from Southeast Asia and they wanted something super international. Although I had worked with a lot of German clients and I had handled German business, but then they wanted to have something in, someone working in Europe or someone working in the US. अगर आप applications देखें तो यूरोप में अक्सर ऐसा होता है कि सबसे पहले, I mean the country where I am, it's France. तो सबसे पहले एक फ्रेंच लोकल को दी जाती है जॉब प्रेफरेंस, उसके बाद एक यूरोपियन को दी जाएगी, उसके बाद एक अमेरिकन को दी जाएगी, उसके बाद बहुत पीछे मेनलैंड इंडिया आता है. खैर हमारा तो we are already, we lag a lot of exposure. But it's very important to explore the internet, explore the network on LinkedIn and, a lot of different professional networks and understand what these companies are
Looking
asking
for.
for. Yeah, I mean, I
Skill
know a
set.
lot of brands. I know a lot of brands who have these special sections on their website wherein they are looking for young talent. They're looking for people who are ready to get trained on any language, Python, C++, and a lot of different things, so that they train them according to their business, according to their business requirements, and shape them up like the professionals they want.
But there are also, there are also organizations which ask for a minimum work experience, and
Right.
freshers just out of college, what do they do? Because internship doesn't count as your work experience, and they only hire people with. And I think it's more common in India from out of experience. I'm saying that because a lot of people have
Right.
landed that trouble. They're like, how are we ever going to enter the job market? How are we ever going to make an entry into an industry if we're just straight out of college, right? And they're not hiring freshers at all. So how can one sort of enter the industry? What are the things that
I think
we
I think
do?
that's somewhere a problem in the European market as well. I can tell you as an international expatriate, wherein when I had to look for a job, the reason why I had to struggle for so many months was because they wanted someone who's already working there, not, including the work experience which I had. So somewhere I had the same problem, but the only strategy which was working for the expatriates and the professionals over there was to get into an internship with these companies.
Yeah.
So that's the best platform wherein you can actually deliver or display your talent and your scope or your potential, and
Mhm.
then look for, let's say, a temporary contract with them.
Mhm.
I always recommend the professionals that when you get an opportunity with any organization and they have defined your KPIs, your goals, always make sure that you're giving something more than those goals,
Mhm.
because what they want to see is they are not expecting you to know everything about their business or about the technology. They want you to be more creative. They want you to be the initiator. They want you to be an initiative taking person who wants to work in a team, is curious about giving new solutions to the business. I think those qualities, those skills really help professionals to land in a, with a permanent job or a temporary contract with the companies. And I can definitely vouch for the European market. That's how things work there. I know that in mainland India, their way of offering internship is quite different. But in other countries, they have a rule of paying the intern. But even if a student is not getting a paid internship somewhere, he or she should start, at least without the money, and start displaying and, you know, um, contributing to the business, contributing to the solution. It will at least help them to build their resume, create some network in that organization, and at least have someone in their network who can in future be as a reference contact for the recruiters.
Yeah, definitely. So, we will just wrap up the discussion with a brief overview of what sectors, Kashmiri youth can explore. So, we all say that let's not only look at BTech, let's not only look at
Yeah.
MBBS. What all can one look at?
Okay, I am well, when someone asks me about it, that scope किस में है, I always say scope हर चीज में है. जब आप किसी बात के लिए किसी इंडस्ट्री में, किसी एरिया, किसी फील्ड में इंटरेस्टेड हैं, पैसा खुद चल के आएगा. All you have to do is just be loyal towards that, you know, that thing. That's the most important thing.
And I also think that it's got a lot to do with networking as well. And usually we only consider networking to be essential when you're looking for jobs, looking for references and
Mm-hmm.
all. But I think that it's when you're not familiar with the industry, with the market and everything, with the subject, the discipline, it always helps reaching out to people who've already been there. It saves you a lot of time actually, right?
प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारी सोसाइटी में इंटरनेट बहुत कम चीज़ों के लिए यूज़ हो रहा है। इंस्टाग्रामिंग के लिए यूज़ हो रहा है, यूट्यूबिंग के लिए यूज़ हो रहा है, बट नोबडी इज़ एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, वेरी फ्यू पीपल आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड how beneficial internet can be. I know that we do not have enough amenities and facilities around, but simple LinkedIn profile can do wonders. I always recommend the students that अगर आप किसी से बात करना चाहते हैं across the globe, just try to look for that particular skill or that particular role. Find people, talk to them, drop them a message. Even if they don't respond, just wait for them, or maybe drop message to some more professionals. And that helps because आपको उस business function के बारे में पता चलेगा, आप उस particular company के बारे में पता कर सकते हैं कि वो professional कहाँ काम करता है या करती है, उस कंपनी के challenges क्या हैं, what is their vision. So
Mhm.
networking is very important, and I think for me as an international expat, again, as I said, networking was the most important ingredient for the whole thing, for the whole game. Unless and until you're not floating your resume or your profile across, people are not going to remember you. Competition is too high. You have to make sure that you're active on such social, networking sites, professional networking sites, wherein when a recruiter looks for candidates online, he or she is able to bump into your profile and try to speak to you.
That is my other question to you, and probably the last one. That
Yep.
a lot of people don't have the privilege of moving out, and or they would rather
Right.
stay here in Kashmir.
Yep.
For them, it seems that the narrative is that you only need to have government jobs, and to be honest, they're very scanty and not there, and the
Correct.
competition is absurd. It's not even about how great you are and being an overachiever. There are literally very less posts, and how many are going
Absolutely.
to make it. So like freelancing is a big thing right now. So are like candidates who are based out in Kashmir, how can they start with this? It's always very difficult to start. So where do they start with freelancing and
I
everything?
think I think it's no more difficult because of the pandemic. We are actually blessed with a lot of virtual business now,
Yeah.
and people need to get that awareness now. It's no more the case that these big brands or the smaller brands are looking for people who can work there physically in their office. They are cutting costs, and they know that they are making a lot of margins by letting
Mhm.
people work from home.
Yeah.
So I think youngsters need to understand that every company or every brand has a section of work from home on their websites.
Mhm.
Amazon, Google, Facebook. There is GE. I think there are many more brands right now. I cannot, recall the names. But then business has shifted. Everything has become virtual now, and
Yeah.
the world has understood that we don't have to be there in person to get the work done,
Mhm.
right? Um, so all we have to do is the first step has to be LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the key to these things. Now, LinkedIn has actually introduced a feature of remote jobs in the job section, wherein
Mhm.
when we search for the jobs, we just have to add the filter remote jobs, and you're good to go. I actually came across some Kashmiri student profiles on LinkedIn who are now working with Amazon, but working from Kashmir.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility, right? And I
Yeah.
think although pandemic has really shaken the world, but I think this has been such a blessing in disguise for many professionals who could not
Yeah.
move, who could not commute to work, and they're doing everything from work, and actually their productivity has increased with it, right? So
Yeah.
the awareness towards the virtual business, towards the virtual world, needs to be increased. And I
Mhm.
think the only thing which we need right now is a laptop and internet, and I think it's pretty much resolved now, pretty much simple.
Hopefully a steady internet connection, but you can always
I hope so too.
always
Yeah.
print to, yeah. So there is that. Thank you so much for joining us
My
for this
pleasure.
discussion. I'm sure like we'll have a lot of questions from our viewers after this session who'd want to connect with you. You're very active on Instagram, so that is where you can connect with her. So our takeaway from this discussion is definitely that right now ability is eligibility basically. There has to be a fine balance between things, but nothing is ever the be all and end all of anything. You can start literally from anywhere.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you and sharing a little bit of my experience. I'll be more than happy to help my community and the youngsters. If they want to connect with me, I'll be available on LinkedIn as well with the same name as mentioned on my thumbnail.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you, Tuba. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.